What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room yet again, always with another one. And yes, indeed, it is another one. So this is where we at right here. So Terrence Howard was on the PBD broadcast and things like that. And shout out to them. You know, I do follow them as well. Yeah, go follow PBD too. And yeah, he spoke upon the fact that at one point, Puffy tried his ass. Now, in a subtle way, but listen, look, let's let Terrence Howard explain this stuff. And yeah, we're gonna see. Of course, we all know that Hollywood, everything has been, crazy for the longest. So let's let Terrence Howard talk. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
There's a short life in
why do you think that is? What the creative side is?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take drugs. You're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far. Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it. A man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right of being a mother and taking care of her family and do all those things, when you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone.
Wow. Listen, look.
What the French toast is there to think about?
And, he's talking about what's going on in Hollywood. Now, the thing of this is of course, the way that Terrence is explaining this situation is by what's being said here. It's something that, it's a forced situation or by some, desperation and things like that. Now, my problem with this situation here is that, as an adult, if you decide to do whatever you decide to do, that's what you decide to do as an adult. But for people to pressure you and try to put you in a certain predicament or a certain situation to where you have to do things and stuff like that in order for them to maybe help you or something like that, that's totally wrong. You shouldn't put people in a position to where they have to make certain types of choices and stuff like that. Definitely detrimental choices to themselves and things like that, or their mental spaces or whatever. That's totally wrong. I mean, for fame, fortune, whatever. Like I said, as an adult, you do what you want to do with your life. That's your life. But all I'm saying is, though, people do not supposed to put you in compromising positions on purpose for their gain and their, whatever they're going to gain off putting you in a compromising position. It's supposed to be a choice. But the thing of this is, it seems like within Hollywood, it's been people being put in compromising positions. And I get it too on a certain type of level. Yeah, those people do still have a choice. But, when you are desperate, and desperation is a huge problem in a lot of spaces and things like that. When you're desperate, most people will do a lot of things when they're desperate. You have to think about the facts of, let's just take this for example. coming up out the hood and stuff like that, you need to help your family things. Most young men, they turn to, doing illegal activities in the streets to get money very quickly and things out of desperation and stuff like that. But it still is a choice. Don't get me wrong. It still is a choice. There's other choices that could be made. Maybe the money going to come a little bit slower with the other choice, but it's still a choice. And I also get that as well. So yeah, let's keep seeing what Terrence Howard had to say about this situation.
You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card, no matter what.
Man, I mean, one of the things you're seeing, you went to a whole different place.
Sorry.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get on.
And as you can clearly see, he didn't necessarily just, speak upon the men only in the Hollywood industry. He spoke upon the women too. The whole Hollywood game has been a whole crazy situation, debaucherous situation by force in most cases, by force. If you don't do this, then you're not going to get there. And, yes, people do have to make a choice at that point, whether or not they want to try to fulfill their dreams and stuff like that. Of, especially if they put in the work to, on the minor level to try to achieve, because it's a step process with any job, or career, whatever. It's a step process. You have to start off in the minor leagues to get to the big leagues. I mean, it just is what it is. But, yes. And to be forced to do something or have to make a decision like that, I get it. It's wild. It's wild for somebody to have to, to want to force you to, make these decisions and stuff like that. But I can't get over the fact too that you do have a decision to make as an adult, that whether or not you're going to engage in this or not, but also careers on the line and things like that. It's a crazy scenario. It's a crazy scenario out there in Hollywood. This is crazy.
All the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process, I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place. What benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit, because the man card means everything.
I had no idea we're going to go this direction with the podcast. This is absolute. But listen, we've talked about it. We've had a lot of the guys on to talk about this stuff. Are you done with Hollywood because of this specific reason?
I'm still working. I still, I haven't made the money necessary to do all of the other stuff. So I still.
Right. That's the point. You know what I'm saying? By not compromising like that, he been cut out for certain situations. And that's what Hollywood has been playing. Now, like I said, you know what I'm saying, as an adult, if you do what you want to do with your life, that's one thing. But when people are trying to demand that you do something specifically to, further your career or something like that, they demanding that you do something, you better do this, or, say you're not going to get this role, or you're not going to do this, and you're not going to be able to accomplish this. That's a whole different scenario. That's a dictatorship. And with these careers and stuff like that, you shouldn't be demanding people to, go by your will and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? All these people are making, all these people were making millions of dollars and stuff like that. Hollywood fucked up right now because there's a lot of shit coming out about Hollywood, and they're screwed.
So what's the French toast is there to think about?
Hollywood's screwed right now. That's the reason why, they're having such a hard time out there. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been doing too much crazy stuff and not actually, just being decent people. And, it's crazy, though. It's wild.
I still have to go and do the Chitlin circuit. I still have to do the job that I need to. But eventually, I've done what I set out to do, which was to redefine the universe. I've proven what I've set out to do. And that's why I have all the patents. Whether they evaluate it or not, that's up to them. But I've done the work and finished it. Now I can go on and do whatever else we need to do. Hi, everyone. My name is Terrence Howard. I'm an actor.
Okay, so you know what I'm saying? That was the end of it. But, shout out to Terrence Howard.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Shout out to Terrence Howard for explaining, what's been going on out there in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Definitely when people are trying to, better themselves and stuff like that, and they get these roles and things. We all know that the casting couch was a thing. We've been, of course, throughout the years, we all live on the same planet. We all understand, like, listen, look, we've heard about the casting couch and all these things that's been going on out in Hollywood for all these decades. Yeah, man. It's one thing for a person to do something that they want to do as an adult and as a human being. It's a whole nother situation when people are trying to force you to do something or affect your livelihood because they want to, dictate how your life going to go if it doesn't benefit what they want. That's a whole nother thing. And that's definitely wrong. On any job, any career, things like that. It doesn't matter whether you work for the hospital, the fucking construction, whatever, job or career that you're on. You should not be dictated, that you supposed that, the bosses or whatever, the heads of whatever, it's not supposed to actually put you in compromising situations for you to make your dollar and whatever field that you choose to, reside in. It's a shame that we are living in society nowadays where people actually would do this to other people and stuff like that and try to end people's careers because, they want, go along with whatever they, whatever the people that can put you in places and things like that want to do. It's crazy, but it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.